Tonight, right before you go to bed, you are probably going to run through a pretty familiar routine.
Oh, yeah. The nightly lockdown.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You'll check the deadbolt on the front door. You might punch like a 4-digit code into the alarm keypad.
Right.
Maybe you'll even pull up that app on your phone to check the live feed from your driveway camera. And, you'll see the empty street, watch the little timestamp ticking away in the corner of the screen, and you will feel safe.
Because we all do it.
We all do it. But what if I told you that that very camera, the one you probably spent hundreds of dollars on to feel secure, is actually acting as a neon sign, like actively inviting organized criminals to target your home?
It's a completely counterintuitive idea, right? Because we've been conditioned over the last couple of decades, really, to believe that adding more technology to our environment automatically equals adding more protection.
Yeah.
We think we're building this digital fortress.
But today, we are going to completely dismantle that illusion. For this deep dive, we are examining a really fascinating stack of internal materials and campaign posts from a UK company called Guard Dog Security Ltd. And our mission today is to explore a highly controversial reality they are presenting in these sources. They make the case that our modern reliance on passive security, and by that they mean CCTV, smart alarms, and even traditional human security guards, is fundamentally failing us.
And just to set the parameters right up front, we aren't here to endorse a specific company or, take a political stance on law enforcement.
No, not at all.
We are strictly unpacking the operational reality detailed in these documents. Because they present a meticulously argued case for active intervention specifically, the use of canine security units by breaking down exactly how modern criminal networks have adapted to outsmart our technology.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand why a state-of-the-art camera system is suddenly useless, we first have to understand who is actually looking into the lens.
Right.
When we picture a burglar, we tend to imagine like an opportunistic amateur. A guy in a dark hoodie, wandering down an alley, rattling doorknobs until he finds one that wasn't locked.
And that stereotype is exactly what gets property owners in trouble. The modern burglar, according to the materials, isn't an opportunist at all. They are a highly trained specialist.
Wait, I have to challenge that a bit. Highly trained specialist sounds like we were talking about James Bond villains here.
I know.
We are still just talking about people breaking windows and grabbing laptops, aren't we? How professional can they really be?
Well, it sounds like an exaggeration until you look at the mechanics of how they operate today. The campaign materials use this brilliant, albeit kind of dark, phrase. They describe these individuals as getting diplomas from the quote-unquote Institute of YouTube.
Oh, wow. The Institute of YouTube.
Yeah. Think about how you learn to fix a leaky faucet or change a tire. You pull up a tutorial, right? Criminals do the exact same thing, but they are watching high-definition, step-by-step teardowns of how to bypass commercial-grade doors, smart locks, and sensor networks.
That's wild.
They often understand the circuitry and the blind spots of an alarm system better than the technician who installed it.
That is genuinely terrifying. It basically democratizes lockpicking.
Exactly. And you have to look at the economic math driving this too. Why do they do it?
Right.
Because for these organized crews, breaking into a commercial warehouse, a construction site, or a high net worth home has evolved into they call it a better paid job than actually working a legitimate gig.
Better paid job.
Yeah. When they calculate the risk versus the reward, a coordinated strike on a construction site for raw materials might net them thousands of pounds in a single night.
Wow.
It involves fewer hours, no boss, and bizarrely, less stress than grinding away at a 9-to-5 job. It's a calculated career choice.
That calculation element is really what stood out to me in the sources. They operate less like thugs and more like meticulous project managers.
Yes.
Like they conduct comprehensive advanced scouting. They run localized risk assessments.
Oh, absolutely.
The sources mentioned they'll use fake delivery vans, just, a white transit van with a magnetic sign, and quote unquote accidentally turn into your warehouse lot just to map out the perimeter and spot the cameras. They will camp out in the local pub down the street from your business and just listen. They eavesdrop on your staff to figure out the company routines, like who holds the master keys, when does the night shift clock out.
Right.
They map out a full logistical operation before they ever touch a door handle.
And because they rely on logistics rather than brute force, they are incredibly confident. They don't just target isolated buildings in the middle of nowhere. If the target is valuable enough, they will strike in heavily populated, highly public spaces.
Which brings us to the St. Pancras incident mentioned in the materials.
Right, that one is crazy.
Yeah, this was a 600,000-pound jewelry theft right inside London's St. Pancras station. The targets were members of a royal family who had just arrived off the Eurostar train.
I mean, think about the environment of an international train terminal. You have armed police, countless transit security officers, and thousands of high-definition cameras monitoring every square inch.
It's heavily fortified.
To the average person, it is the most secure place imaginable. But the criminals struck anyway.
Why?
Because they had studied the routines, they knew exactly who held the valuables, they tracked the transition from the train to the concourse, and they waited for the exact fraction of a second when the targets were distracted by their luggage.
It really makes you rethink what security actually means. For instance, if you own a business and you lock up on Friday night, and you come in on Monday morning to find everything perfectly untouched, your immediate thought is, great, my security system is working.
And that is a dangerous assumption.
Yeah.
Criminals do not take weekends off. If your warehouse or construction site wasn't hit over the weekend, it wasn't because your padlock was particularly intimidating. It is simply because you got lucky.
You just weren't on the list.
Exactly. Your address just hasn't moved to the top of their project pipeline yet.
So, if we are dealing with criminals who act like tech-savvy logistics experts, how do our defenses hold up? I mean, we spend millions as a society on Ultra HD cameras, motion sensors, and smart alarms.
Well, what's fascinating here is the psychological shift. The short answer, they hold up terribly.
Terribly.
Yeah. We are witnessing a massive psychological shift in how technology is perceived by the criminal element. Historically, a camera was a profound deterrent. You mount a camera over a doorway, a thief spots it, decides the risk of being identified is too high, and walks away.
Right.
That deterrence factor has completely evaporated.
Look, I am really struggling to understand why.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it is human biology to panic when a 120 decibel siren starts screaming in your ear.
Larry.
Or a floodlight snaps on. Are you telling me these crews genuinely do not flinch?
They don't flinch.
Yeah.
Because they have done the math on the response time. The alarm is only scary if it means an authority figure is about to come around the corner and arrest you. But these professional crews know the exact police response times for specific postcodes.
Wow.
Depending on the area and the nature of the call, a response might take anywhere from 24 hours to a full week.
A week?
Yeah. So if you know absolutely no one is coming through that door tonight, a siren is just background noise.
Wow. So they just ignore it. I mean, the campaign post described them taking their time, systematically causing thousands of pounds in property damage, and even stopping to take selfies for TikTok while the latest model CCTV records the entire crime in crisp 4K resolution. They just do not care.
Because the camera is no longer an active threat, it is just a passive observer making a movie of the crime.
There is a line in the materials that sums this up perfectly. They say that relying on CCTV to protect your property is like bringing a photo camera to a gunfight.
It is a phenomenal analogy. You are capturing the event with perfect clarity, but you possess zero ability to alter the outcome. And it actually goes a step further than being useless. Extensive camera coverage can actively work against you.
Right. The neon sign effect.
Exactly.
Because these crews are doing their own risk assessments. If they scout a property and see it's absolutely covered in cameras, motion sensors, and floodlights,
Yeah.
they don't think, oh, I should stay away.
No.
They think, wow, whatever is inside there must be incredibly valuable. You are doing their target selection for them.
You are unintentionally advertising your assets. So if the technology is either a passive documentarian or an accidental advertisement, you naturally have to look at the human element.
Right. If the digital fortress fails, what about physical human barriers?
You would naturally assume that having physical human beings on site, like traditional security guards or relying on heavy physical locks, would change the math.
You would think so.
But criminals have figured out how to hack humans too, specifically by weaponizing the legal system against them. And the most disturbing example of this from the sources is the modern squatting business.
Yeah, that part was mind-blowing.
Squatting isn't what it used to be. The days of a random individual seeking temporary shelter in an abandoned building are largely over. It has evolved into a highly organized, highly lucrative enterprise that exploits specific systemic loopholes.
The methodology is chilling. How does this actually work in practice, according to the documents?
It is a two-stage operation. First, the organization sends out scouts, usually a pair of young men. Their entire job is to locate an empty property and physically break the lock or force a window.
Okay.
Crucially, they do not enter the building. They simply break the physical barrier, report back to the organizers, and leave.
Okay, so the door is open. What happens next?
Stage 2. Entirely different people arrive, often families with young children, and they walk through the already broken door and move in.
Wow.
Now, review that sequence of events through the lens of your passive CCTV camera. The camera records a family casually walking through an open door. They aren't holding crowbars, they aren't breaking glass. To the camera, and therefore to the law, it looks like a peaceful, non-forced entry.
Which means the moment you call the police, it transforms from a clear-cut criminal burglary into a massive, tangled civil dispute.
Yep.
The police review the footage, see the family, note that there was no forced entry by the occupants, and say, this is a civil matter, you have to take this to court to get an eviction notice.
And it takes months.
Meanwhile, you, the property owner, are completely trapped. You are legally required to keep paying the gas, the electric, the council tax, the mortgage, and the insurance for the very people who just basically stole your property.
Precisely. Because the law, in its attempt to protect vulnerable people from unlawful eviction, inadvertently created a gray area that organized criminals exploit to hold properties hostage.
Unbelievable.
And this exact same mechanism, the weaponization of legal liability, applies directly to traditional security guards.
Let's talk about the reality of being a security guard right now, because the sources paint an incredibly bleak picture.
You really do.
You hire a guard to stand outside your business. You expect them to physically stop an intruder, but they can't, can they?
They are completely paralyzed by liability. Over the years, laws have softened, and the emphasis on avoiding physical confrontation has skyrocketed.
Right.
If a traditional guard lays hands on a teenager trying to breach a fence, that guard often faces more legal jeopardy than the intruder. The guard could be sued for assault, lose their licensing, and their employer could face a massive corporate lawsuit. They have been stripped of the power to actively intervene.
So they are placed in these high-risk environments, but are expected to face down credible, organized threats with nothing but, nice words.
And the criminals know this. They know the guard cannot touch them.
Which leads to a detail I almost couldn't believe when I read it. Guard Dog Security notes that they routinely receive desperate calls from other security companies.
Oh yeah, this part is wild.
These rival firms are calling to hire canine units to come out and protect their own human security guards.
Yes.
Why? Because the human guards are being constantly harassed, intimidated, and assaulted by local youths, and they have no legal authority to defend themselves.
It completely upends the traditional concept of protection. If a uniformed guard is being actively bullied by teenagers and requires outside intervention just to safely stand their post, their ability to secure a multi-million-pound construction site is practically zero.
It begs an obvious question, right?
Yeah.
If a guard cannot even protect themselves from a group of kids, what are you actually paying for? You're essentially paying for a human CCTV camera, just a warm body to stand there and watch the disaster happen.
Which is why the core thesis of these campaign materials is a demand for a hard pivot. A pivot away from passive observation and a return to active, undeniable deterrence.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Guard Dog Security, operating in the UK since 2004, argues that the only genuine way to counter this fearless organized criminal element is with a highly trained canine security unit.
Yes.
We are talking about professional dog teams deployed to luxury estates, warehouses, and high-risk events.
Think about the psychological shift a dog introduces to the environment. A camera documents. A human guard observes and worries about liability. But a highly trained canine is an unpredictable biological threat.
Right. You can't sue a dog.
Exactly. You cannot reason with a dog. You cannot cite a civil statute to a dog. When a scouting crew arrives at a site to do their risk assessment and they hear the deep bark of a professional security dog, the calculus instantly changes. It isn't a legal loophole they can exploit. It is an immediate physical reality.
Let me read you an actual guard report log included in the sources because it perfectly illustrates how this plays out.
Oh, this is a great example.
It reads, 20.35. 2 individuals observed attempting to assess the site perimeter. Dog engaged. Subjects immediately left the area. For the remainder of the night, NTR.
NTR meaning nothing to report.
Nothing to report.
Notice what is missing from that log. There was no broken lock, there was no property damage, there was no physical altercation, no massive liability lawsuit, and no need to wait a week for a police response.
Wow, yeah.
The crime was intercepted at the assessment phase. The dog did not document a robbery. It prevented the robbery from ever materializing.
And because of that consistent prevention, They make a claim that is virtually unheard of in the modern security industry. Because their protected sites routinely go years with zero incidents, they offer a 5,300-pound burglary warranty on qualifying sites.
That's a huge deal.
If there's a breach of security on their watch, they financially pay out.
That financial guarantee is the linchpin of their entire argument. I mean, anyone can sell you a camera system and promise you crisp, high-resolution footage of your assets walking out the door.
Yeah.
It is entirely different to put thousands of pounds of your own money on the line, guaranteeing that a breach will not occur in the first place. It fundamentally redefines what a security provider is supposed to be. They are not selling surveillance. They are selling an absolute physical barrier.
They are putting their money where their dog's mouth is, so to speak. They're taking the power back from these YouTube-educated thieves who think they own the night.
Ultimately, all of these operational details synthesize down to a single core concept. True security isn't about the hardware you install. It is an emotional state.
Oh, that's a good point.
It is about the profound peace of mind of knowing your family is genuinely safe in their beds. It is knowing your business inventory will still be there in the morning, and that your staff can come to work without the anxiety of navigating a compromised environment.
Real deterrence.
Yeah.
Real presence. Not just a terrifying notification on your smartphone at 3 a.m. telling you someone is currently emptying your warehouse.
Exactly. It is a vital demand for a return to active protection in an era that has grown dangerously complacent with passive observation.
So what does this all mean for you, the person listening right now? We started this deep dive talking about your nighttime routine. Checking the locks, looking at the cameras, and feeling secure.
Well, I want to leave you with a thought drawn from a very poignant observation in these materials. They point out that 20 years ago, there was almost no CCTV in the UK, yet many people slept with their doors unlocked. Yeah, why? Because the police were respected, authority carried weight, and there was a cohesive societal structure that actively deterred crime. Fast forward to today, and we have a high-definition camera on almost every corner, doorbell, and dashboard. We have never had more surveillance, yet we have never felt more vulnerable.
Wow. We have replaced true societal trust with a massive, passive surveillance state that just gives us an Ultra HD video of ourselves becoming victims.
And it leaves you wondering about the future of our social contract. If public authority continues to wane and criminal organizations continue to outpace our technology, are we headed toward a hyper-segregated society? A future where true safety is a luxury, and only those who can afford private, active canine protection are truly secure.
That's a heavy thought.
And if so, what does that mean for the rest of us?